Good morning, Muscatine. Again, there will be a day, I swear, I promise, where I'm not laughing when the camera cuts to me. But yeah, yes, there's that. Busy day in Muscatine. If you're not doing anything, a little later, the library's got a pretty cool event going on from 10 to 11. You'll want to check that out. Miss Betty was here talking about it. We'll kind of touch on that again a little bit later. We do have Muskie softball this Thursday night. The boys played last night. Unfortunately, it wasn't a strong night for them. Lost both games 8-0 and 8-5-0. So we'll keep hoping that they get a couple of big hits here and there and get those bats going and change it. Whoa, did you feel that? Was that a tremor? Was that a tremor in Iowa?
Yeah. Maybe.
I
felt something.
I don't, that was weird. Chris, did you feel, was that like, okay. No idea what that was, folks. Well, I guess I don't know. Okay. So, holy cow, that like threw me. I'm like totally off. So, we have some folks from, really it's under the AIM umbrella at the moment, but you probably recognize some of these faces from Iowa State, who are the extension office, who were just here, about 2 weeks ago? 2 and a half?
I believe it was last week, maybe.
Was it just last? Jeez, the time flies when you're having fun on a show like this. So quick, how did Almost Fiesta Fest go?
Great turnout from our end. I believe it was the most or close to the most people they've had from the events. Nice. 1,300 is what they recorded. So yeah, pretty good. A lot of positive feedback and hoping to come back for it next year. So.
Awesome. Congrats to both of you on that. So what you're actually here to talk about today, though, is a program with AIM, yes, which is Aligned Impact Muscatine. That's the Kim Warren operation, right? So it's the Summer Melt program, which is designed to help kids transition from high school to the real world, pretty much. Basically. So if you guys could, real quick, for those at home that don't know you, give a quick introduction and sort of what your role in the program is, and then we'll kind of dive into the program itself.
Yeah, so this program started from conversation with kids, which was really exciting because we get a lot of information from them. So we heard that a lot of first generation students, students of color, students in free and reduced lunch, were like melting through the gap, and that's where the title comes, Summer Melt. After they ended school and before summer, like before school started during that summer, they would melt away, they wouldn't go to school, they would change their plans because they didn't have anybody to help them through the summer. You know, they're so used to having their advisors or counselors all the time, and then they have that tiny gap and they just don't go. So basically from those conversations, we put a lot of people together, you know, Muscatine Community College, Iowa State Extension, and Aligned Impact Muscatine, and we just came together and we became a mentorship program for these students to, you know, step into the real world, pursue their education, go into the workforce, whatever they need.
It's kind of like a nice little handoff, passing the baton sort of a thing, right? Like, and as I've kind of like watched and like looked at the programs as they've built around that whole, you know, cradle to career function in Muscatine, right? One of the handoffs that doesn't always happen super well, and I mean, I even remember when I was a kid, you know, that high school to college or high school to career, there's, you know, you're so used to the school year and knowing exactly what you have to do and when, and there's deadlines, like you have to be at school on September, whatever it is, or on whatever, like it's there. And when you get done with graduation, it's just kind of like a whole big world that you could, do I want to take some time off? Do I want to go to school? Do I want to get a job? And you don't have a hard deadline, right? So what are some of the things, this is the program's third year, if I'm correct? Okay. So over the last couple of years, like what are some of the successes you've seen, or like what's been the most encouraging thing that you guys have seen as you've gone through this?
I think we have a couple of success stories. I think our first one was to Jesse, so I don't know if you want to talk a little bit more about Jesse. Yeah, that was actually like the spark, I would say, that started everything?
Yeah, so at the very beginning in the first year, the very first year was the summer coming back from COVID. So when they went back that like second semester, so going into the summer, setting meetings up and being in person with students to help was still a little challenging. So we didn't see very many faces, but of the ones we did see, we did manage to make the connection. We completed one student's FAFSA with them, and that turned into a fully covered program at MCC, and they were going into it thinking that they were going to pay the whole thing out of pocket. So it was just a 15-minute meeting that really just kind of changed and made the difference for someone who just a couple months before graduation wasn't quite prepared. And since then, last summer, we saw an uptick. We were able to get into the schools before the school year ended and do a little bit of promotion that way. So throughout the summer, we did see more faces, and the amount of stories similar to that was increased pretty significantly. I think last year we ended up serving students and helping them get about $20,000 worth of awards for various programs and various students. I think somewhere around 15 students were helped total. So from last summer, from the first year to last summer, we're hoping to follow that trend into this year and get the word out a little bit more and help more students.
So who are the faces that they're going to see? I mean, are they going to see you guys, and maybe do those introductions real quick so everybody knows who you are?
Okay, I can get
when
started.
they walk in, who they're going to see?
So we have 5 mentors right now. We have 3 right here. My name is Claudia. I'm an advisor at MCC as well. I'm a Student Success Facilitator, which is really exciting. I've been doing this for 3 years. I am bilingual in English and Spanish. I was first generation as well. So this is one of the faces they're going to be able to see. They're able to bring their families if they're welcome to. Their parents can get to meet us as well. So yeah, I do these 2 positions, and they blend perfectly because I can help them go through MCC, and then I see them there as well, and I help them with the transition. So.
And it looks like you maybe enjoy it a little bit, right? Is she like this every day?
She had coffee today.
God.
But yeah,
that's awesome too.
You're never not going to see me smiling.
My name's Jesse Garcia. My title is Latin Outreach for Iowa State Extension in Muscatine County. But through that, I help through the Muscatine Community School District, and I serve MCC as well.
Yeah, which we talked about last time, how you're just like a nice little plug into all of them.
My name is Catherine Ariano. I work with Jesse at Iowa State Extension. I also went through the program myself, so it feels nice that now I can help others who felt the same way I did. And I'm currently at MCC as well.
So would you mind telling us a little bit about your experience? Like, what were you thinking when you graduated, and how did you end up there?
When I graduated, I really wasn't sure what I was going to do because I'm a first generation college student, so I had no idea where to start. But luckily, I had Claudia and Jesse to help me out, and they kind of guided me through that. And now I go to MCC, and I'm super involved. I'm in LULAC. I was a student ambassador for a while too, so it really helped me out.
That's awesome. And that's the sign of a great program, is like when you can take someone who's been through the program and then bring them in to help run the program. That firsthand experience is great because you can notice it. Like, I was in your seat 2 years ago or whatever it was, and it helps make those connections. Because I think for a lot of programs like this, and Jesse, I think you could probably speak to this really well, the mentorship concept on paper is easy, right? Like, this person knows this stuff, this person needs it, put them together in a room, and it all just works. Well, we all know it's not that easy, right? I mean, there's nobody that in order to, these are big decisions. You've got to build trust. You've got to build a relationship. You've got to get to know them and understand what they really want. Am I right? Like, is that sort of
the
whole function, really?
Yeah, head on the nail. Part of that was intentional in looking for mentors that could relate. And I think the 3 of us do that pretty well. We do have Kim Warren is also a possible advisor if someone wants to feel like they're talking to someone with more experience. And then we also just brought in another, we hired one more for sure, Miss Hoyt from the high school. She's a senior English teacher, I believe, or a freshman English teacher. She's going to be helping us out this summer.
She also does Muskie Minutes.
That sounds about right.
Yep.
We talked about that.
Yep, she's Great.
Yeah, so those are the other two people that are options. So there's a lot of variety in people. So Catherine's obviously still a student finishing up.
You have Jasenia.
Claudia, yeah, and Jasenia. Piscina's also a student and serves on a couple different councils at the campus. So they're current students. Claudia just graduated, I believe, 2 years ago, or a little bit more recently than I did. And then obviously there's Kim, and there's more experience up with the other people if students would prefer that. So giving options of who they can feel they could connect with the best so that we can get through those steps as soon as possible.
That's awesome. So how does somebody get in touch with you guys? Like, how do they get started? Because we all know the first step in anything like this is always the hardest, right? So I know you guys have some QR codes, but like, do they call you? Do they send you an email? Just whatever?
They can text us, they can email us, they can also scan the QR code, they can click to the link. We have our page there, and you can easily make an appointment through Calendly. So if you're like shy and an introvert and you don't want to like meet it and call and everything, usually the parents are the ones that call. You can just make an appointment through the link. It is pretty easy and accessible.
And I know Margaret's working on an article on this, so we'll make sure that we've got all the contact info and all that stuff there as well.
And we do have flyers set up at most of young people's favorite spots around town, like the coffee shops and the drink places around town. So if they see the flyer up, the QR code's on there. I think the link will be provided so that we can get it in the comments. And if you're a senior in Muscatine, for sure, West Liberty as well.
Yes.
We just sent out postcards that I know my brother just graduated and we just got it in the mail. So the postcard explains a little bit about what the services are. They're bilingual in Spanish and in English. And if you fill it out with the QR code on there, you do get entered into a raffle for a chance to win a $50 Amazon gift card.
Nice.
So we're just looking for a little bit more feedback from students too, and seeing if we can connect with some that we might have missed.
And there's nothing wrong with a little bribery here and there, right? Well, guys, so to kind of sum it up here real quick, you know, basically anybody who's finishing up high school doesn't have an exact plan in concrete is somebody that it would make sense for them to reach out to if they want a little help, guidance, you know, whether it's school, whether it's a career, whether it's, you know, a gap year plus school, or, you know, like, how would you plan that? Those are all the kinds of things that if you're sitting at home watching, I have to find it hard to believe that there's probably a lot of 19-year-olds watching this, but what I always do say though is those of you that are watching, you probably know an 18 or 19-year-old in that position, right? And the one thing to remember is you're probably, if you're thinking of this kid, 18's not really a kid, young adult, you have some influence over them and you have the ability to help guide them. You have this information, help guide them to you guys, right? Like, you know, that's part of our responsibility as, I'm gonna say, elders of a community. I just walked in to set myself up to call myself old. Did you guys see that? You saw that coming, didn't you? Like, you're just grinning. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's just like, yeah, the old guy. Way to go. But no, that's part of our responsibility is we have this information. We understand it. We understand how important it is. It's our job to help disseminate that down to those that need it. So make sure you get those QR codes. Make sure you get them out to all the kids who need it. Is there anything else big you want people to know?
I would say even if you know where you're going, but you need extra steps, like we help with the FAFSA as well. Some people already know where to go, but they're like, I'm missing one key, or like, I just can't seem to grasp the concept completely. So we can help them fill those tiny gaps. Even if they're already enrolled in school and everything, we're able to fill out those gaps as well.
Awesome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for stopping in and talking with us as always. And keep us posted on how it goes, and we'll keep on going. Does that sound good?
Thank
Make sure
you.
you get
Appreciate
this all the way
it.
through.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
So we will be right back with Jamie Bosten, this week's Pearl of Muscatine Business Edition. Talk to you in a minute.
Have you heard the littlest things can make the biggest difference? Every day, bigs and littles are connecting in our community. Your time together can look a little different, but the goals and outcomes are the same. Littles are building confidence, forming better relationships, a sense of belonging, and achieving big goals. But there are more kids just like me who are still waiting. Will you join us in making more matches possible? Support Big Brothers, Big Sisters.
We are looking for a zero-turn lawnmower.
At Hustler Turf, quality matters,
Can I test drive that one?
In the store?
even in the buying experience. We know you want to buy from someone who knows what they're talking
We're
about.
looking for a zero-turn mower.
Like this guy.
First thing you need to know is what's the size of your property? Are there any obstacles?
Head to your local Hustler dealer and talk to a lawnmower expert.
Stop in to Muscatine Lawn and Power at 2020 Stewart Road to see Hustler quality for yourself.
We just don't work out in a single plane of motion.
And welcome back, everybody. I'm here with Jamie Bosten, who, I've known Jamie for probably a year and a half now, really. Yeah. But the funny thing was, it was just maybe, a month and a half ago that I realized I went to school with your brother. Yeah. Okay, you've got a unique last name. It's Bosten with an E, right? It's
correct.
And Justin's last name is Bosten with an E. I went to school with him for, I don't know, definitely high school, I think around each other a little bit in middle school. You would have thought I would have put two to two, and you guys look alike. Like, you would have thought I would have put that together, but folks, maybe I'm not that smart. But if you would, Jamie, introduce yourself to everybody out there, and then we'll talk about what you're doing.
Well, like Chris said, my name is Jamie Bosten, and I'm a Muscatine native, born and raised. Lived all but about 15 years or so of my life here in Muscatine. I spent a year abroad on an exchange program and a few months in Montana and about 15 years in Denver, but I've been back in Muscatine since 2013. And I'm currently an attorney, and I've just opened my own law practice.
Right, which is Bosten Law. And the thing that I love about this, the name is Bosten Law Office. All you got to do is think about the great show, Bosten Law, right? So
Boston Legal, yep.
Yeah, Boston Legal. Yeah, Boston Legal. Like, it's right there. Like,
yeah.
It's almost like the branding does itself, right?
Yeah.
Like, you've got all this built-in credibility and ready to go.
Yeah, for a while out in Colorado, after I first became an attorney, I had that domain name and had thought about opening a practice under that name, but I don't know. As the time from the television show increased, it became more kitsch and less cute, and so
that's true.
I didn't go that direction with it, but I enjoyed the television show. It was entertaining. It's not necessarily like most shows that replicate real life. It's not really, what the law is all about. And Alan Shore gave great speeches that would never be allowed to be given in an actual court of law. So it was good for entertainment.
Yeah, that's what it should be.
Yeah.
So, your background has always been helping people. You had the background in emergency medicine.
Yeah, I started as an EMT and a paramedic with Riley Ambulance. And even before that, I was a lifeguard and was the city pool manager. So I spent the first 24 years of my professional career in EMS, both here in Muscatine and then out in Colorado. And that's actually what led me to becoming a lawyer. I had worked for a company called Pridemark Paramedic Services out in Colorado, large company, 350, 400 employees. And I became the risk manager for that company. And so that had me doing claims work, which meant I was working with the lawyers on motor vehicle accidents. Believe it or not, when you manage a fleet of 50 or so vehicles, every once in a while they hit something.
Makes sense, I suppose. Yeah.
And so that was just a lot of fun working with those lawyers and working through the claims. And so I decided I should become a lawyer. So while doing that job, I went to law school at night at the University of Denver. And I got my law degree in December of 2010.
Gotcha. And so, you've been back in town for quite a while now.
Yep.
And what kind of led you to going out on your own and hanging your own shingle? I mean, it's a risk. And
yeah, it is.
It's a risk, but small business owners, you kind of love the risk, right? Or you hate the risk, but you love to hate the risk. So what drove you? Because you've got to want to do this,
right?
You don't just accidentally do your own thing.
So when I first moved back to town, I had a position with Trinity Muscatine as their Chief Compliance, Privacy, and Risk Officer. And I was doing a lot of in-house work. But in the healthcare realm, working with patients, working with the staff, still getting that strong feeling of helping people.
Right.
And ultimately, I left the in-house position and worked for another local firm here in town for about 5 years. And I was looking for some work-life balance. I was really working 12, 15, sometimes 18 hours a day, doing work on weekends, going home and, seeing my family for a little bit for dinner and then working, or watching TV with my wife while secretly on my phone writing emails and reading, pieces of evidence and things from clients, and that wasn't working for me anymore. Mm-hmm. So I took an in-house position again, thinking, well, I'll just, be straight, whatever, but it wasn't fulfilling. So I decided, when I left that position, I did talk with the old firm about whether, is there a way we can work out something where we can both get what we want? And there just didn't seem to be that. And so after a lot of soul searching and a lot of prayer and conversation with friends and family, it was just kind of, so if you can't find what you want, make it. Mm-hmm. And so I got a lot of encouragement from different people, and I said, okay, Muscatine needs lawyers. We need legal representation. We need attorneys. We're not adding attorneys nearly as fast as we're losing them. We have a number of lawyers in their late 70s and early 80s who are still practicing,
which is crazy,
full-time or close to full-time, because they love it.
You're right.
Right? This is one of those jobs you don't do it if you don't love it, and because we need it.
So what all, being a lawyer, I've got some friends, and obviously you, that you guys can touch so many things in so many ways, right? Like you can advise corporations or people starting off companies. You can help with when somebody passes away, like just the number of things that having a smart person who knows the law is handy. Like that's how I always think of, like, because I know several attorneys that I use for different things, and mm-hmm. I always just think of them as like that extra smart person in the room that keeps you out of trouble, right? That's my. It
certainly can be. I mean, just like doctors and nurses tell the story. Doc, what do you think that is, right? In the grocery store.
Yep.
And the doctor has to go, well, schedule an appointment.
Yeah.
Attorneys get the same kind of thing. Hey, can I sue my neighbor? Probably. I mean.
Now, is it a good idea?
Don't know if I recommend it.
We should probably sit down and have a conversation about that, right?
And so that's one of the things that my practice offers. I'll have a 30-minute free consultation with anybody about anything. More often than not, the 30 minutes comes closer to an hour, because for me to understand your concern and whether or not an attorney or me specifically can help you, I need to hear what it is. And so I know a lot of people have negative impressions of lawyers, right? For years, from television, from experiences, mm-hmm. from everything else. But there are times in life when you kind of need a lawyer. In Iowa, you need somebody to write a title opinion to buy real estate. So you need at least one lawyer involved to make sure that you actually own the house or the piece of property that you're buying. That's really what they're doing. They're protecting you. But they want you to pay them for that. And so that
crazy idea.
Therein lies the rub, is that people don't want to pay lawyers for their advice sometimes, or they feel like they have to pay them too much. You see an hourly rate published for a lawyer or in your engagement letter, and you think nobody deserves that much money per hour. But at the end of the day, it's pretty rare that we actually collect that much money per hour.
Well, and that's, it's somewhat like, when we're in consulting mode on the marketing side,
yeah.
Right? Like, yeah, there's this number, but it doesn't count all the little random conversations you have, and so it all waters down a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
And but what it does do, I think, and I love this, is it helps people be prepared for conversations, right? Because the one thing that I've learned is the better prepared you are personally when you talk to your attorney, the better the conversation goes, right?
Yeah.
Just because you're not running around chasing things and all this other stuff. So like, what are some of the things that are like the main like pillars of what you'll handle? And
Yeah, so I give that initial consultation and we talk about the situation, and one of the things that'll come out of that is at the end of the conversation or within the next day or two, I'll be able to send you a message or have the conversation and tell you, based on what you've told me, assuming everything you've said is 100% true and nobody has any bad information, or the other side of the coin doesn't have a leg to stand on. So we have to start there. Right. This is what I think, and then I'll do my best to give you an approximation of what it will cost. In several of the things that we do, it's a flat fee, right? So you'll know exactly what you're going to pay the attorney to do before you've even hired them. So I do estate planning, write a will, write a power of attorney, a living will, advanced directives, which can be your no CPR order all the way to, I want these medications but not these. I want, we can provide all of that.
Which ties into iPost.
Yeah.
By the way.
Yeah.
If you don't, side note.
Go ahead.
This is special needs father coming out in me. If you don't, as a parent, have a will, advanced directives, all those things in place, stop what you're doing right now. Make a note, call him, call somebody if you have an attorney, I don't care. This is just me asking you as a parent to do that one thing. Yeah. You won't regret it. Sorry.
Yeah, so we do that, we'll write a will. But the first thing I do is sit down with the adults and I ask a bunch of questions and I gather a lot of information about their current situation, financially, relationship-wise, because we have to know what kind of will they need. Do they just need a simple, give everything to my spouse, and if my spouse is already dead, everything to my kids in equal shares? Maybe that's what they need, and maybe not.
Can you make one that sends everything to the Cayman Islands so the government can't touch it?
Well, we could incorporate it there. We could take that outside of the practice and build a corporation over there and maybe transfer. Yeah. So the current estate tax exemption at the federal government level is $12.9 million.
Yeah,
so
I think
most folks are probably okay there.
Fine,
But you should have a will. If you have minor children, or if you have children who are special needs who even when they reach 18 are not going to be capable of managing a large sum of money, then maybe you need what we call a family trust will, which is a will that creates a trust if needed at your passing, right? Because 6-year-olds don't need $100,000 in life insurance. They can't inherit it. They're too young. So we need a trust. Yep. So we need someone to be able to help them and use that money to take care of them. But I learn about all of that, and we look for ways to avoid probate. People don't want to have the court supervise and divvy up
I was going to say, explain what probate is.
So probate is the process where the court takes the things that you owned when you were alive and distributes them to all of the new owners after you've died. The court does that, or the court and the lawyers and your executor. So we have a process for that. But there are things that we can do when we understand your asset situation. We can make recommendations to change things. For example, a simple one, I had a client meeting the other day. They run a household where there's his bank accounts and her bank accounts. He pays certain bills, she pays certain bills. And I said, well, do you have a transfer on death document at the bank saying if you die, your bank accounts belong to your spouse? No. Okay, so there's only a couple of ways then in Iowa for your spouse to get access to your bank account when you die if you haven't done that. You may have to probate a will, or if you have very little in assets, we may be able to do an affidavit. But that's a simple thing. You don't have to change the way you bank. You don't have to change your financial structure as a family. But you should have a TOD, or transfer on death or payable on death assignment. Same with your IRA, same with your life insurance. Life insurance is one of those things that can pass to a beneficiary, no income tax, no estate tax, no nothing. So if you've designated your estate to receive your life insurance, I'll counsel you against that for a number of reasons. Your financial advisor may have counseled you for it for a number of reasons, and you'll have now more information with which to make an informed decision about the way you want to go about things. So I do that. But that work, it's a standardized process. It doesn't require a lot of deviations left and right. So I'm able to tell you, this is what we're going to charge to have this document package completed at the end. So family trusts, we can do revocable living trusts. We can, if your asset structure or your family structure or blended family structure, right? First marriage, second marriage, kids in both. Somebody dies first, how are we going to avoid having my children cut out of, my children from my first marriage cut out of the estate? We can help with that. We can create trusts that make sure that everything flows where you want it to flow so that it's simple and easy for your descendants. Because let's face it, your will isn't for you. No. You're dead. Yep. Your problems in this earthly existence have ceased. Yep. Your will, your estate plan, that's for the people you leave behind.
Well, and I think the one thing that I would, again, obviously not being an attorney, but knowing and using them, I think the biggest thing that having an attorney like a Jamie or somebody that you know and trust and can build a relationship with is they know what to ask, right? And so like in that situation of blended families, you know what to ask to help the person walk through the decision to get to what they want. Right. They may have this idea in their head of, okay, here's what I want to happen. How you execute that is complex at best. And also the flip side of that is also there's some things that once you look at the details of it, you may want to adjust what you were envisioning because you're like, oh, that's not actually quite how I want to do it. And so it's a guidance. It's really not unlike the mentorship program that we just talked about with the melting program, the summer melt program. You're going through that transition. You need guidance. And that's what attorneys. That's how you should view your attorney.
Yeah. So my goal is to understand your situation and then provide you with the best information to make an informed decision. And whenever possible, I try and include cost. Yeah. Right. So I do estate planning, including wills and trusts and other documents like that. I do real estate, so commercial and residential real estate transactions, both on the buy side and the sell side. Work with real estate agents, work with for sale by owner, and I also do landlord-tenant law on both sides. I've done a lot of evictions and eviction-related things.
I don't know that that's the thing that I'd be like, no, I did a lot of evictions.
Well, is it evicting or preventing eviction, right? I represent both sides in that. So I've represented landlords, I've represented tenants. Both residential and commercial. You want to form a new corporation, LLCs, S Corps, C Corps to help with that. You need bylaws, you're going to need those types of things. If you have an estate plan or if you don't, you may need assistance after a loved one passes away, or your loved ones may need assistance after you pass away. So I do probate work, helping you move an estate through the court process, either with or without a will or without a trust. If you have a trust, when you die, we have to administer the trust, so we're going to need to create that revocable trust needs a successor trustee. You need to get all the assets in place and then follow the instructions in the trust. And that's very common. A lot of farmland goes into the trust so that it can continue to be farmed by the family for generations to come. And the kids who don't want to farm can collect some income, while the kids who want to farm can farm. We don't have to sell the farm to raise the money to. So there's a lot of different things that I can do there. I do handle family law matters, and I'm exploring right now the possibility of moving into a little bit of criminal law. We don't have any criminal defense attorneys in town aside from 3 of those older attorneys that are.
Is that part of the? Was that from the tremor? Do you think they're going to? I don't know.
It could be. They're heading out. So I'm looking at court appointment type work and those types of things to get into that system a little bit more. About the only thing that I don't do is I try very hard to avoid. I'm not the attorney who files just regular civil lawsuits. My neighbor punched me. Can we sue him? Can you? Probably, but I'm not the guy for that. I don't do a lot of heavy, complex litigation. That requires a specific skill set, a support staff, a lot of things that I don't have. So that's one thing that I'm not doing, but I know lawyers who do, so I can give you a referral. So that's why I say I can listen to anybody's situation, and if I don't do that kind of work, or it's not something I feel comfortable doing because it's beyond my scope or my skills, I know the lawyers in the community, both in Muscatine and in the Scott County, Davenport area and beyond. So I'll point you in the right direction.
Well, and I would imagine if, somebody really wanted you to, you could probably even liaise a lot of that for them if they really wanted you to.
Yeah, we had a client who got sued in Idaho while I was at the other firm, and so we found a lawyer for them in Idaho, because I'm not in Idaho, not licensed in Idaho, don't practice in Idaho, don't plan to. But we played the intermediary for our client here in Muscatine and that lawyer in Idaho. So, and I can do that work. So I can help you, even if it's not me directly. Some of the cases that I have right now have been referrals from other lawyers in town that was something that they didn't have the time to work on, which can be a big component a lot of the time. The lawyers in Muscatine are busy. There's a lot of work to do here in this community, and so they say, yeah, I could do it, but I can't do it for 3 months.
Yeah.
Somebody doesn't want to wait 3 months.
Yeah.
So, so I've had several referrals like that from other lawyers in town, and I have no problem making referrals back to the other lawyers that I know.
And the thing that I also like about how you approach this, and this is just, I think, part of your personality, is you're not like a big office guy. You know what I mean? Like, you'll go meet somebody wherever they are, go meet them for coffee, whatever. Like, it doesn't have to be this big scary thing where you're in the room with, it's not the Boston legal thing all the time. Like, it can just be 2 people or 3 or 5 or whatever sitting down at a table somewhere to discuss this stuff where you're comfortable. You don't have to worry about that stuff.
Yeah, so as part of that work-life balance that I was trying to achieve for myself, I try and help my practice help other people achieve that too. So lawyers' offices that are open 9 to 4, for the working person, you have to take time off to go see the lawyer. You have to take vacation. It needs to be maybe one of those government holidays. It's not a regular holiday, whatever. So I try and make myself available at unusual times. And I did in past practice as well. Can I meet somebody at 5:30? Sure. Let's look at my calendar and your calendar and iron out when we could meet at 5:30. I did an estate planning meeting this week at my client's kitchen table. Come to them. So, and I do a lot of that because I have not established a brick and mortar location. I don't have the overhead. I don't have a staff. I don't have a need for it. I do virtual conferencing through Zoom, through Microsoft Teams. I can do a FaceTime on an iPhone. Because really the only time you actually need to physically meet with your lawyer is to sign things that require wet signatures, right? Otherwise, we can drop off documents, we can mail documents and pieces of paper. So I can be more convenient that way. I have a law practice management software suite that gives every client a portal for every matter they can log into. You can upload the pictures of your situation at 10 p.m. Put them all in the folder. When I get up the next morning, they're there waiting for me to look at.
That's awesome.
You can send me a secure message that's even outside of email. You log into the same system I'm in. So it was never in the outside world. It was in our enclosed system. You can view your invoices. You can view your messages. You can look at. So that allows you to access me at your convenience. It allows me to work and go to an answer recital because I've got my app on my phone that has my software suite on it. So I can work at odd hours or in odd locations, or driving to Des Moines to deliver a cat with my wife, I can work in the car. So I'm not in the office,
I love
but I'm available to my clients. But I can also, the phone system shuts down and rolls things to voicemail, which gets transcribed and immediately texted to me. If it's an urgent matter, I can glance at it and probably give you a call back. If it can wait till tomorrow, I can go to the movies, right? So I'm achieving that work-life balance for myself while offering that concierge-style service to my clients where I can meet you at your home, or I've used the library. I met a client in Starbucks in the lobby because she was coming down from the Bluegrass area and needed to just sign something real quick. I said, well, can we just meet at Starbucks over in the corner? I wouldn't choose Starbucks for a private meeting, right? We need to have a private conversation. We're not meeting at Starbucks. But, and then there are other spaces in the community that I can use. I can use space at my church. I got a lot of different options that's one of those things then that helps me keep those flat rates lower, helps me sometimes take a case on a sliding scale or a lower fee basis. I don't have a staff, I don't have overhead.
Yep.
And so that's what I'm trying to do that sets me apart from the traditional. And there's nothing wrong with the traditional law firm.
Yep.
You know,
No,
I had no problem working with those folks and for those folks, and they do great work and a great service. But I think I can be a little easier to get a hold of and a little easier to work with at times, especially, you know, like I said, the Zoom, the FaceTime, the Microsoft Teams meetings. I've got a client in Cedar Falls, father passed away in Muscatine. You know, we do almost all of our work through FaceTime and Zoom.
Yep.
and email correspondence and electronic signature documents. I can send anything out that doesn't need a true wet signature for electronic signing and get it back. And so it's, and you know, and her emails come back at midnight, right?
Yep.
She's signing things at midnight and sending them back. That's fine. That works for me. It's waiting for me to work on them the next morning.
Well, you know, to kind of like wrap this all up in a nice little capsule for everybody. You know, I think the thing to take away about your new firm really is don't be afraid of your attorney. Your attorney is I don't want to say friend, but your attorney is your friend, right? Like
absolutely, we're your advocate.
Exactly. And that's how, you know, you start the conversation, fill out the, I know on his website you can click the schedule a conference, I don't remember what it's called. You know, the funny thing is I built his website and I don't remember what the button's called.
Yeah, it has a web form.
Yeah.
Just a few simple questions that feeds into my practice management system and lets me know you've got something you want to talk about. We can schedule a time to talk.
Yep. So just do that, start the conversation. You don't have to worry about, just start getting the info out. Like I say on everything, this is going to probably be my mantra, is the first step's always the hardest, right?
Yeah.
Like picking up the phone, get somebody involved, get some help. You won't regret it, right? Like having somebody smart in your corner is always a good thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Our phone number for the firm, it's one number that does it all. Text messages, faxes, and telephone calls.
It's easy.
It's the same number, and based on what you're doing, the computer phone system figures out what it is and how to manage it.
I love it. We use the same phone system. It's absolutely amazing.
So that makes it really simple to get a hold of me, you know, through the email or the phone or through the web form. And we'll have a conversation. And sometimes the conversation is, you have a great case you can't afford to pursue, right? You've got a lawsuit you'd want to pursue for $10,000 in damages, and I'll explain to you why you'll lose money trying to go for that lawsuit. Even if you win, you'll lose because it'll cost more of your money than you're going to win from the other side. Because common misconception or misunderstanding in Iowa, there are very few times when you can sue somebody and get attorney's fees. Right. Very few. Mostly has to be related to fraud. There are a few other exceptions, but you can't sue your neighbor for punching you and get attorney's fees out of it. So there are a lot of people who have injustices that they've incurred that maybe
aren't cost effective.
That you can't hire the lawyer because you can't afford to. But I do help people look at a small claim, right? And pursue it yourself.
If you need more info, check out BostonLawOffice.com.
Yeah, BOSTENLA, Boston Law, BOSTENLAW.com.
Yep, and we've got the profile link that Margaret wrote in the post, so you can see it there, and then you can scoot on out to his website.
Great, thank you.
It's all there. So, Jamie, congratulations and good luck.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
You know, hang that shingle and have some fun, right?
Yeah, we'll see if we can provide some good service to Muscatine.
So, Muscatine, we're going to actually head out now. The library's got this awesome event going on. We're going to swing down there, and we'll bring you a little bit of info on that. Was that, Jamie, did you feel that?
Another tremor? What is going on?
I don't know. I don't know. We heard the cops. There was a tremor earlier. We're going to go out and see if we can find out what's going on for you guys. So stick around and